Hello everyone. Uh, Welcome to Crick Vidya Legends podcast series, and this is part of the Crick Vidya initiative we have been having for quite some time now, and where we discuss the legends who have played the game over the years. And today we discuss one of the jewels of Indian cricket, someone who was critical for our international success and especially in the tests. And we all know him by the name The Wall, and more fondly, I mean, that's Rahul Dravid. And today in the discussion, we track his journey right from his Karnataka days up to the international cricket and to his subsequent wonderful performances. And for discussing this, we have a very special guest with us, Vishesh Kaul. Now, Vishesh is a avid Dravid fan. He is an engineer and now is into freelance writing. And as you can see from his sports jersey, he is a Manu fan. So besides cricket, he is obviously fond of football, and he also loves his food and is also a movie critic or an analyst as well. Along with that, Manju will be at Falling Sea, will be leading this discussion. Manju is part of the Crick Vidya setup, and so he'll be taking this forward. So over to you, Manju. Let's go back and try to
Yeah.
relive the glory days of Rahul Dravid.
So thanks very much, Yasir, and definitely it's a very interesting time to record this episode. And as obviously I won't reveal the date when it is being recorded. So the importance of a person like Rahul Dravid could never be felt more than today.
Right.
So I think most of our cricket followers would have guessed it. So I would welcome Vishesh to this discussion, and I would like to ask him about his earliest memories of Rahul Dravid.
My earliest memory of Rahul Dravid, which I vividly remember, would be the '99 World Cup. Of course, I've been a fan since '97. Ever since my grandfather bought me a Wills bat, and uh, and I spent hours playing with my elder brother, batting, and with this proper sort of a. I'm not sure if I should call it a crooked stance or what, like this proper stance and making faces like the Rahul Dravid used to like this, and I used to spend hours doing that. And it's been like I've been a fan since '96, '97, and vivid memories. '99, Bristol it was, or Taunton. I don't remember. One with Dada
Taunton,
Taunton,
Taunton.
right? Uh,
Yes,
that one. We lost an early wicket around against Sri Lanka, I think, for
yes.
20
We
or
lost,
30
I think,
runs, and
in the first over itself, and then the next wicket was
Sadagopan
like
Ramesh,
300.
I think,
Yes, yes, yes.
Sargopan, sir.
300.
318. So
Right.
that's my earliest impression of it. Vivid memory of his. And my favorite memory of his would be the Adelaide test. The, I had just come back from my school. We had a regular unit test. I just come back at 12:30, and that moment I switched on the TV, and I saw Rahul Dravid doing this after scoring the winning runs on the fifth day. Was it? That would be
Yes.
that's one time I've seen Rahul Dravid being so jubilant, and usually very calm and composed and doesn't show emotions. But at that time was like, come on, man. I was like, yes, that's that's the man I look up to.
So a large part of his success later is also attributed to his beginnings, where he was brought up on playing on matting wickets. So there were many of our batsmen, the risky
Absolutely, in
players,
Bangalore.
who were brought up on matting wickets. So do you feel that are we yet to find the risky players of this era, or that the current situation with the T20 and the requirements have changed? So there are no more players playing a similar profile.
Absolutely, absolutely. The thing is, I'll start off here, just to respond clearly. As modern cricket would have it, it's heavily influenced. I don't think we have those sort of players right now who take an ample lot of time to get in and play with patience and build their innings. Not even in 1 days. We are always in sort of a hurry, and attribute that to the T20 revolution, or should I call it that or not? The T20 revolution. Since then, it's been. I mean, we are more into hitting big runs, making it entertaining for the people to watch rather than uh, you know actually playing for the love of it. And we there are risky players, few off the top of my head. uh, Virat is impeccably good with his wrist, and even Stokes, if you ever seen Stokes pull, his pull is never
Right.
straight. His pull is always sort of wristy. But
Yes.
there's a dearth of classic wristy players in the game, like VVS Lakshman, uh, Azhar, Dravid, and who else was Marquardt. Marquardt had an impeccable wrist. Who else? Devin Martin. I think we don't have those players anymore. But then that's
So
evolution.
Rahul
That's
was
evolution of a sport.
Rahul was involved in two big partnerships in the matter of months, like between
Hmm.
Taunton and Ahmedabad again. So actually, a year ago, he was dropped from the ODI setup, saying that he has been coached to be a test player apparently, and that he cannot adapt to this format. But later on, as the years roll by, he captains successfully. He accumulates more than 10,000 runs in the same very format. So, what do you make of this redemption in '99? Like we thought that this man can't play the white ball game.
The thing about Rahul Dravid, and he was so mentally tough. You tell him he can't do this thing, he'll go back home. He won't respond with you. He won't argue with you. He won't get defensive with you. And he'll go back to his basics. He'll go back to his roots. He'll start doing what he has to. He'll come back better. He'll work on his game. He did that oodles of times in cricket, in limited overs, test cricket. Whenever he felt his technique lacked something, he worked on it. And that's how I think that's part of the reason. That's actually the biggest reason I look up to him, sort of like an idol-esque. That's why I look up to him.
So, in the same year that he arrived on the scene, that is, it was 3 years into international cricket, we all felt that we had found the next test batsman. But then he comes to Australia in '99 2000 series, and he's given a working over by Glenn McGrath. He's not able to cross even 100 odd runs in 6 innings. And he also turns to Steve Waugh for advice on how to tackle this cricket. So, what do you make of the tough phase and how he emerged out of it?
Again, that is his mental toughness, his determination to be the best in the world. Quietly quietly doing his job. Uh, that's what I make out. That's why I think of him as someone, how do I put it in words? Someone who's uh, he's never gonna give up. He was impeccably tough. He was never gonna give up. And the same thing, even Steve Waugh said about him. He's someone. He's not gonna give up. If you bowl him 10 times, you bowl him. There's a way, like like the same thing I see in Virat these days. If 4 times Adam Zampa got him out in a succession, he came back with the same vigor, and he picked him up. That was Rahul Dravid. One bad series, okay, he'll go back home. He'll go back to England. He'll play the counties. He played the counties for Kent, I think.
Yes,
Uh,
2000.
he
Played for Kent.
yeah, he went
Yes.
over there. He played the counties. He worked on his technique in the seaming, moving, and bouncy conditions. He came back home and helped India do well in 2001 against that was but Indian wickets. Even in 2002, he was solid
Mm.
in England.
England.
That dead bat innings. He 150 odd of 320 or 330 balls, I think.
Yes.
He
Agree.
deadened the new ball, helped
Mm.
Sachin and built very good partnership with Sachin and Dada,
Dada.
and that's what he used to do.
So since you mentioned his county stint, his county captain has some very kind words to say. That is on a pitch against Somerset, where Andy Caddick was in the attack. He said that when everyone was shot out for single figures, he got a 90, being the overseas player. So that says a lot about his character. So nowadays, now since I always refer to the current era because just to get some relevance, because we are in the era of sledging and mental disintegration and banter. And here is a guy who will never speak a word, rarely, very rarely. So what, in your opinion, is aggression by Rahul Dravid? So like for me, it's that kadak forward defense which he gives to any fast bowler, and he has to go back and bowl it again. So any other take from your side?
In my words, aggression would be we are five down. One thing you said, he'll blunt the ball. Other thing, he has to attack. He needs to attack. He'll score quick singles. He'll find the gaps. You bowl him a bomb, he'll duck like this. And this duck was very beautiful, the way he used to duck and leave the ball. He'll leave it. Even Shoaib in his interview once said that uh, it's impeccably tough to get Dravid out. You come at 100 miles an hour and he just stuck.
He's very frustrating. Shoaib has said that on so many occasions.
Shoaib was frustrated. I mean, how do you get this man out? If Sevaka, I can bowl him on the outside, the off stump, he'll lash at it, and maybe there's a chance he'll give. He's not hitting me. How am I supposed to get him out? So that's an aggressive game in a specific, speaking in specific sporting terms. In his game, aggression was picking up quick singles so that the pressure doesn't fall on the other side. Something I don't do. I don't see some specific people in our current team doing. They blunt the ball well, but they can't rotate the strike. And rotating the strike is very important when you can't hit big shots to get the pressure off.
So the another aspect
That to
of
me
his
is
play,
aggression.
yes. So that was nice. Another aspect of his play is that the team man as Rahul Dravid. So this is a player who was like a wicket keeper for his side in the age group cricket, and he gave it up and became a batsman. Then when it comes 2003 World Cup and the captain wants him to take the wicket keeping gloves, he does it with no nonsense and he does it well. Even during Nehra's
I,
6 for 23, he takes a few good catches. So he doesn't look very out of place. He works hard on it. So what do you feel regarding this aspect of his personality?
I'd like to go a year back, 2002, when Dada finally took the reins of Indian captaincy. I think 2001 it was 2001. Dada took the reins in 2001 after the match fixing fiasco, and
Yeah,
in
there was a series
2002,
against South Africa that was 2001, but properly he took it in 2001. Correct.
yeah. So he needed that. Dada in 2002 he went to England, so he wanted to develop a team who he could compete with, who could compete with the best next year. So our batting wasn't that good lower down the order. We had 4 5 top batsmen, but we needed additional batsmen. In Dada's opinion, and even John Wright's, they wanted another batsman. And we tried multiple people. We tried Hemang Badani, we tried Nesh Mongia. So that opened up a slot. We couldn't take a experienced keeper with us. We had Akash Dige, Akash Rat, nee, we had
Ajay,
Ajay Ratra, we had Samir Dige, we had MSK
hmm,
Prasad during those times. But
right.
Dada wanted another batsman. He wanted Dravid to take up additional responsibility, and Dravid stepped up because for him, the team was always ahead. The team was always ahead of his personal goals, and that's the best thing about him. He's the most selfless man ever I've seen in sport. Because there was this Cricket Info interview of his in which there was a question asked by Jason Dacey, I think, what would be your autobiography called if it was written? And Rahul Dravid, the witty man he is, tongue-in-cheek guy, he was like, probably the book that was never written,
Hmm.
because he is that selfless that he would never write about him. He never educate himself. He's never been a narcissist. Not that I mean anybody who else writes his autobiography is a narcissist. I don't mean that. But that's how he won't ever talk about himself. He'll talk about the team, people around him, how to get them better, friends, enemies alike, but not himself. No, I'm not good. There was another incident when he had to wait in the line in the school. He was Rahul
Hmm.
Dravid, for God's sake. He could have got into his schools, into his child's top of the line, but he waited, like common people, like parents, because that's how Rahul Dravid is. That's who Rahul Dravid is.
What
Extremely
do you make of
responsible, extremely versatile.
what do you make of Rahul Dravid, the leader? Like there are a lot of sweet sour memories for fans who follow different players, because he once declared the innings when Sachin was on 194. But then that was a good team move to do. Like even though I like Sachin too, I still would have backed Rahul Dravid to declare, and we won the series. That's what matters. And there are other really tumultuous time as a captain in the Chappell era when Ganguly wasn't
Those
there.
are smart.
And he also said that, I can take the press conference questions are tougher than handling the pacemen on the pitches. So what do you make of Dravid as a leader? What are your fond memories?
Dravid, uh, Dravid as a leader, I always believed and I still think Dravid was a good leader. He could have been. Obviously he's not among the best as records would show, but in terms of owning people, in terms of being, you know, tactically and maybe uh, thinking right out of the box, he was good. It was a mixed bag. His tenure was a mixed bag, and that was obviously marred by by the upheaval in the Indian cricketing fraternity at that time. Those were tumultuous times actually. Dada being unfortunately pushed out of the door, and probably there would have been camps inside the dressing room who were more loyal to Dada than they were to Dravid. That would have happened, and that would have obviously impacted their performance. And could have happened. I'm saying could have. I'm not saying that it definitely did, but it could have. And I still think 2004, that furore that happened in Karachi, then Multan was it when
Yes.
Sachin was declared. Sachin was number 94, and
Yes.
I still think to that day. I've been thinking about that day for now 16 years. I
Long,
honestly thought last
long.
10 overs, uh,
Hmm.
Sachin, I would have thought, last 15 overs of the day, and we could probably get in a few 2 or 3 wickets with a fresh new ball. They probably won't be hitting. I think that would have been in mind. But at that point, he probably didn't think about the negatives. All he thought was maybe we'll get the victory early, maybe we'll get in early inroads. He didn't think about personal goals or whatever Sachin loyalists call him right now. Spineless, as there was one tweet I read yesterday about that certain troll I shared with you, called him spineless.
Hmm.
Actually, he was one of the bravest people I've seen play.
And
Not
also,
spineless at all.
I think there was also an attempt to change the mindset from,
Yes.
I mean, there was a lot of weightage given to probably personal milestones. And
Hmm.
this
Mhm.
was probably one of the first attempts to try and change that legacy. And we have to appreciate him for taking that brave decision.
Yes.
Absolutely. And
Definitely.
now, when you think about it, 15 years later, how many of our players who are getting hundreds spend as much as time as our players did back in the day? They're getting
Correct.
into from 90s to hundreds in a jiffy, like five, 6 balls. Virat, Rohit are top two 100 getters. They're doing it in a jiffy. But back then, I've seen Sachin, I've seen Saurav, I've seen Rahul. All three of them are big stalwarts. Even VVS, you know, in one days especially, they took an awful lot of time to get from 90 to 100. So he broke that mental barrier. We are not waiting for anybody, even if it's a cricketing god himself. But that polarized people, and people said what they had to say. But when you go out of the box, things either they take you to the zenith, or those things can backfire on you easily. And at that moment, it did backfire on his reputation. Actually, he took a lot of flack. He still takes a lot of flack for it. I see tweets on it every day or posts on it every day. But we know what he did, why he did.
So once again, we have a very versatile man who can fit into any role. So now, when India toured Australia in 2007-8, in the end of the year, he opened the batting in tests with Wasim Jafar. So yes, he would have done the role before, but what do you make of that move? And do you think it benefited him, or did it push him more back out of form? Like, because see, he
I
has never
mean,
done something for himself, so that is a
see, I'm a Rahul. I idolize Rahul Dravid. So, but even as an idol, even as someone who idolizes someone, uh, I've never been a blind fan of anybody. So he personally, for him, that was stupid, because even though his records may show that he has gotten few runs up the order, but as a opener, Rahul Dravid never convinced me. He never convinced me as an opener. He was always number three, number four, number five. Wherever you put him, he could do his best. But number one or two, Rahul Dravid never convinced me. And for personal, as on his game, that was sort of detrimental. But for the team's purpose, obviously, you ask him to stand in front of a bullet for the team, he'll do it, because That's what Rahul Dravid was.
So just coming a
So
few months back in the same year, like
uh,
he led India to a very good Test series win in England, and that was like at the time Star Cricket Channel was prominent in telecasting it. So
uh-huh.
the Jelly Bean incident had happened. So do you have any memories of that tour? Because I remember for once that in the last Test, both Dravid and Dada were there in the middle. So it showed a sort of reconciliation between the two. Uh, if at all, I don't think there would have been any rift, or if
I
they
don't
must
think
have
they
been,
never fell apart. They never fell apart,
right,
I don't think.
just the circumstances
Because they
might
always
have
shared
been.
amazing repo. They always shared amazing repo. Uh, I'll tell you the most vivid memories of the 2007 tour were uh, RP Singh and Zahir
Correct.
Khan bowling round the wicket and getting the ball to
Yeah.
get in. And English batsmen, all of them, be it Ian Bell, Cook, Strauss, not right-handers, the left-handers. Bell, Trott, I
Matt
think,
Pryor also.
KP.
Matt
Freddie was
Pryor
there as
was
well,
bold,
sent off.
middle stump out of. Yeah, Flintoff
Huh.
is it?
The ball came in so well. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the best memory of that's the most vivid memory I have of the 2007 tour, and uh, and he led well. So his captaincy wasn't a total failure as a lot of people complain. Say it right now, 15 years later, talking about that in this retrospective. It was a mixed bag, but the situations, you need situations to favor you. You need the luck, the universe, the fate to favor you if you have to reach the top. Uh, Unfortunately, it didn't. And the 2007 debacle. I mean, who could forget that? I mean,
so another reason
we all were depressed.
I'm harping on the same year because it showed me a lot of facets to his personality. Like he's totally hammered in a World Cup. In a team, he goes with so many dreams. And a few months later, he says that he's not going to South Africa. And he tells and also coaxes the seniors not to go for the T20 World Cup and give chances to youngsters. So what did you make of that? If you
Again, team ahead of his personal self. He
exactly,
know he
exactly,
wouldn't. He knew he wouldn't fit into the World Cup scheme. He knew he wouldn't. He would not have been useful in the considering the frame of mind he was in to help India get a trophy. So he'd rather have someone else who had the vigor, who had the energy to play in the shorter, newer, relatively unknown format then, and help India win a trophy rather than go in himself and sort of do a redemption sort of thing himself, which he did later on back in uh, 2 years earlier in 2018. I was the happiest that day. 2018 when
right,
we won the ICC World Cup, and when he was just shy, he didn't celebrate. He was shy. He was just smiling with a wry smile on his face. The people celebrating were Prithvi Shaw. He was jumping up and down, but he did
right.
redemption.
Yeah.
That to me in my eyes, uh, 2018 under 19 World Cup is redemption for 2017 the battle. I mean, he lost the World Cup as a captain. He won the World Cup as a coach, and hopefully he does the same 2, 3, 5 years in the future for the senior team as well. Fingers
Right.
crossed.
Yeah. So down the line, 2009, the Indian white ball setup recalls Rahul Dravid for the Champions Trophy, saying that we don't have anyone to bat at four and tackle the moving ball. That was a message which was sent that they couldn't trust anyone, so
Mm-hmm.
they decided to call him back. So what do you make of that move? Was it just to him, unjust to him, or how do you take it? Because
It was
I was happy to follow him on TV, so that was a good thing for me as a fan. So what did you feel at that moment?
I was happy he's back in the one-day setup. He'll probably be given another chance to shut the critics up. I was happy that he came in and he did well. He wasn't exemplary, and he didn't score like hundreds and all that, but he was good. Few fifties and held the middle order together like he always used to do, like an anchor, and gave the people around him a chance to score well. Unfortunately, India didn't
Yeah,
progress
didn't
much in the
progress
series, but
much.
but
Yes.
we were still in a transitive phase at that time. But still, he did well at that point.
So, separated by 15 years is agony and ecstasy for Rahul Dravid. When he made his debut in 96, he was caught behind for 95 and he missed the mark
90.
record by 5 runs with both debutants getting 100. Then in 2011,
Uh-huh.
he gets a chance and he makes it good. He scores 100. So, how do you see the 2011 test batsman of Rahul Dravid towards the fag end of his career?
That was, yeah, the last test, right?
Yes,
I
the
think.
last series. it was a very good series. He got like 300s, and he was like the lone man standing along with MS Dhoni, of course. But it was not enough for us to win there. We went in a whitewash in that series.
That was, I won't say fitting because it wasn't a winning end, but then he for personally he closed it on a high. But uh, knowing Rahul, following Rahul Dravid as much as I have and knowing about him, he would have been extremely disappointed the way it ended. Because even if he scores a 10, he wants the team to win, and even if he scores 400, it doesn't matter if the team loses, he won't be happy. So for him, it would have been a bittersweet end. And even for me as a Rahul Dravid fan, it was a tad bittersweet. I would have wanted him to go on a high, win and then go out.
So to wrap up this segment, what are your 5 memories of Rahul Dravid which you'd like to cherish?
First would be the one Taunton,
Right?
one day batsman, nobody gave him a chance. Then the second would be 2001 Calcutta. Third would be my favorite of all time, Rahul Dravid doing this in Adelaide.
Adelaide, yeah.
Fourth would be chronologically going. Fourth would be him being hit on the head, I think, by Binga, and he still carried on. He still carried on.
Right.
He was hit on the head and he still carried on. And the last would be the latest, him smiling, Riley smiling in a corner as if he had nothing to do with in U19 winning the World Cup and letting the boys take the center stage. And he said that himself.
Right.
That would be my happiest and the most loveliest memory of his.
So Yasir, what are your
And most of
favorite
his
moments?
interviews, of course.
Right.
So Manju, I have in fact one question for Vishesh and maybe Manju for you as well.
Okay.
Do you think we all appreciate Dravid, and I think he has got a lot of international acclaim as well, and it's not just limited to India. But do you still feel that he didn't get the sort of limelight that he could have got because he was surrounded by a lot of stroke players, and to some extent in some of the very critical partnerships that we have seen, he was somehow the second. He played the support role to some extent. So,
Right.
what do you feel? I mean, has he got the sort of limelight and appreciation that he deserves? I mean, we have given it, but maybe a little more is due to him.
Uh, uh, um, Manju sir, would you like to go first?
No, you can. You carry on, Vishesh. I'll come later.
That's very Rahul Dravid-esque of you to take the back seat, sir. Let the youngster go on.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's a subjective topic, and in my eyes, as a fan, I think he wasn't given the same farewell as he could have been. But then even Dada same level, same stature. They weren't given the same. Not everybody receives a Sachin Tendulkar like farewell, as so as to say. But BCCI did hold a that award function where all of his teammates were there. So I think could have been better, but still then most of us fans or real fans who actually love cricket for the sheer fun of it, and uh, we actually recognize who is. And I don't go by the total profiles on Twitter who have no profile pictures and have random usernames who keep on slating Dravid and calling him spineless. I would like to indulge with him. I'll actually verbally rip them up when it comes to arguments, but then I won't indulge into them because they're speaking from a point of view of bias, and there's no point wasting my time in there. And he could have gotten better, but then okay, not everybody is Sachin Tendulkar, but then we all recognize him as one of the three main pillars. No disrespect to VVS Lakshman, but three main pillars of 90s and 2000s Indian cricket team, which we all grew up watching. I grew up watching. You're obviously older. You might have a different era in mind, but I grew up watching. So for me, the three raw pillars were Pothos Aramis and what's the third name? I can't
Arthos
remember right
Porto.
now. Arthos
Three must.
Salamis would be Dada, Sachin, and Dravid, and I rate all of them equally. And if anybody goes on versus battles with me about three of them, I don't talk to. I have no intention of talking to them because rate them. I love Dravid more of the three of them, but I
Yeah.
rate them equally because they were equally important for us.
So
Manju
like
sir,
for
you
me
can pitch in
mainly,
now.
yeah, for me mainly, it's like Sachin and Dada may at times like they may get out, but like Rahul Dravid, each and every time you have to get this guy out.
Yeah.
And in an era when we had such stalwarts, this is one guy who always stands out in his style of play.
Right.
So although and he stays in too because he's the main reason why we blunt the new ball, we get to those scores which India got to, and the golden batting era was there. And even another thing was he decided to switch places with Lakshman for the Kolkata test. And
Right.
he came at number 5 and Lakshman was already on 100. And
Right.
he played a second fiddle. So, see, very few people are able to just discard their ego and continue in this way, despite having such a weight of runs behind you.
Right.
So I think even though whether the world recognizes him or not, definitely we will recognize him
Yeah.
and continue to do so. But yeah, definitely I feel that he gets less coverage, and maybe it's due to his demeanor. And many of the interviews which he gives are really very good. They are worth reading.
Yeah.
So I feel that he brings a different side to
Yeah.
this game. So
Right.
we are really
Watching
grateful
and
to have him. Yes.
his interviews are very good watching as well. They're funny. He's very witty with his thing. And
Yes.
there's one thing I'd like to add, his demeanor. You're absolutely spot on about that. You know, most people, most former legends, how do they stay in limelight because of their social media? Off the top of my head, Lucky Ali, who I've been listening to since I was 6, he was out of limelight. People didn't care about him. You know, I have been listening to him. I've non-stop listening to him for I don't know how many years, but he he started a social media run by his son. His Instagram. He put in one video that went viral. Now every Tom, Dick, and Harry around the corner is telling me, Lucky Ali, kya singer hai yaar?
Hmm.
अबे यार. That's the same thing. It's on Dravid as well. He's nowhere on social media. He has a Facebook account, but he rarely posts anything. There's no Instagram. There's no Twitter. So obviously that's why he stays. That's how he stays out of limelight. His demeanor. He
On a,
didn't want
on a
that attention. He
exactly.
didn't want that attention.
He didn't want that. On a very, very light note, I would just say that you remember that MTV episode when they tried to
Yeah.
play a prank on him,
Ha,
and,
ha, ha.
and the way and the demeanor and the soberness and the properness with which Rahul Dravid
Yeah.
handled that
True. True.
situation, I think that describes his career and also the lifestyle that he followed.
That's actually a video all of us guys could, see and learn from in this
Yeah,
age. And that's how you treat anybody,
yeah,
irrespective of a guy or a girl, woman.
yeah,
So the one last aspect of his game, which we all like miss sometimes, is the catching, the slip catching. So
absolutely.
when he had
Oh,
taken his world record catch, so they asked him, so will it be caught Dravid, bowled Kumble for the next generation also? So he said, I don't know, but it should be caught Kumble, bowled Dravid. Maybe my son can become a bowler. So that was it was a very offbeat thing to do because he said that every day, like for 16 years, every day he takes 60 to 80 catches in the slips. So it does take a lot out of you. And of course, in '98 he met Bobby Simpson, who changed his technique of catching and made it and helped him to become the very safe bucket-handed slip fielder which we all dream for. So anything about that, if you remember?
one thing I just realized while you were speaking that uh, what the question he was asked, that would it be Kumble ball, caught Dravid ball Kumble? The
Yeah, yes,
emphasis was him, and he diverted the emphasis onto Kumble.
yeah,
Maybe it would be caught by Kumble and bowled by Dravid. He didn't want the
right.
attention ever again. And his technique, as I remember his catching technique, 98, I have faint memory, so I can't, what led into his technique. I may read about it, but I don't know it practically because I haven't seen him as a bad catcher and then a good catcher. As far as I remember, he's always been a very good catcher. Safe pair of hands. And
Yeah, mainly around
his
when
catching.
the Australian they went on the Australian tour of 2012,
Uh-huh,
11-12.
uh,
That was the first
uh-huh.
time I saw him put down a chance. So probably I
Ah,
thought maybe this is the last tour. So they played the Adelaide Test together, and that was their last Test match. Lakshman and Rahul Dravid. So both are very fine slip catches. So over the entire 2000s, I remember both of their catches quite fondly.
Dravid's catching. I remember growing up, the best slip fielder who was considered before I started watching was Mark Taylor. Then it was Mark Waugh, and then in tandem with Mark Waugh, there was Rahul Dravid. And I think Rahul Dravid overtook his
Yeah, record.
record. I'm not sure with the stats. He overtook his record. So to have it in the slips, there was a safe, you that was something that put the captain at ease. You keep him into the slips. Keeping against the Pacers is easier.
Mhm.
Keeping fielding against the
Yeah,
Pacers in the slips is comparatively
yeah.
easier because you have a second to react to it. When you keeping against spinners or in the slips against spinners, you have half a second, less than 0.2 or 0.3 seconds to react. And he almost reacted well almost every single time. Like maybe 90% of the time he took those catches. And we can't say the same about current people. We would like to have another fielder like him
You're right.
behind the wicket and a cricketing
He
brain like
also
him.
he also said that like for Kumble's bowling, he tried to stand and slip at varying distances to challenge himself, like in the practice and all. So he's like over time he slowly perfected his technique. So like definitely in
And
the
he always
2007-8 series, now there were a lot of caught Dravid bowled Kumble. I really enjoyed that segment a lot.
uh,
The
and
combination.
he even said that I think he even said that he
Vishesh, you're
He
on.
went on mute.
Kumble as a in his mind he always thought of Kumble as a seamer.
Hmm.
That's how it helped him perfect his keeping technique against Kumble, because he knew he's not expecting any square turn, any 45-degree turning delivery from him. He would do that against Budgie, but he won't you know expect that. So tells you a lot about the guy. Always the tongue in cheek and perfectionist he was.
Okay, over to Yasser for closing takes. Yasser.
Yeah, so Dravid is such a subject so close to our hearts that 40, 45 minutes or whatever, 1 hour, 10 hours, 12 hours in a day will not do justice to him. So, but
No.
there are constraints, so we have to wrap it up at some point of time. But one ending line I will say, sometimes in life as well, you realize you love a person when that person goes away. And
Right.
Yes.
to some extent with Dravid as well, when he has gone away, when he finally put up his boots, and we look at the situation now, we miss him, and we realize we love him even more. So
Right.
so that is one thing I would just wanted to say. And thank you, Vishesh, for sharing your memories and making us go back in time, because no discussion of Dravid is enough, or there are so many things that come back. And thank you, Manju, for leading this discussion. And thank you,
Thank you.
guys. And I would just say to our audiences and viewers, do subscribe to our channel. And as we bring more legends to you for your consumption. Thank you, guys.
They can listen. They can listen on Spotify. Link is there. The link will be available.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Manjuji. Thank you for giving me this
Thanks.
opportunity. I really appreciate it. Let's do this again sometime.
Thank you.